Creative Living, utilizing today's technology with the best of the past to bring you innovative ideas and up-to-date information for creative lifestyles in today's active world. With your host, Sheryl Borden.
I'm so glad you joined me today for Creative Living. We're going to learn how to prepare figs, we'll discuss eating for longevity, and show how to work with hardy clay. One of my guests is Carla Stockley, and she's with the California Fig Advisory Board, and she's going to demonstrate how easy it is to incorporate California figs into 5 popular food trends. Carla lives in Fresno, California. Another guest is Maria Bernardis, and she's going to talk about some of the ancient Greek secrets for longevity, and she's going to tell us how we can learn to eat for longevity too. Her book is titled Cooking and Eating, Wisdom for Better Health, and she lives in New York City. My first guest is Diana Effner, and she designs doll molds. And today she'll show several dolls and other items that are made from hardy clay. She'll demonstrate how to mix the colors and then show how to condition the clay for pressing. She's from Jamestown, Missouri. Diana, thank you so much for being here. And looking at your website, I know you have all these molds for these beautiful little porcelain dolls. But how do you go about deciding what types of products you use to make dolls after you design the molds?
Well, usually we use porcelain. We make a lot of porcelain dolls, but I like to try new things. And so I did develop some molds for a specific air dry clay that I discovered.
Oh, so it doesn't have to be fired?
No,
oh,
it's
that's
air
what
dry.
I'd like.
And a lot of people don't like to wait that long for the porcelain, and this is something that you can do.
And this is called hardy. Hardy molding clay.
And
comes in all colors? And
yeah, well, it comes, I'm not sure. It used to come in more colors, and then now they don't have the flesh, and they don't have some of the colors.
So you mix
these
them.
are the colors I use, the basic primary colors in white and sometimes black.
Okay, I can tell by feeling that it's very soft.
It's very soft, and that's what I like about the clay. I like
and while
the way
you're
it
going
feels.
to show us, this is one of the molds that you designed and that creates the faces. We're kind of showing things out of order, but this is the mold. And then show us the clay and how you mix it.
Is it okay to show white? Okay. Well, it's very soft, and I'm going to mix a piece of the red clay.
Oh, so you just took a pinch of it and you're just molding it.
So you can really see how soft it is and how strong the colors are, and it's really fun to mix. You can mix any color that you can think of.
This would be fun for kids to work on because they'd love that molding part.
Oh yeah, it's fun, and it's clean, and it's not greasy, and it's just...
It reminds me of mixing paste food coloring
I'm
into
put a little
icing.
yellow in it because that's too pink for me.
Okay.
So
then once you get it molded or as soft,
I'm gonna. Yeah, you have to get it kind of smooth and even. If it's too wet, it might not work out in the mold. It might stick in the mold a little bit.
And you don't, like in cooking, you don't spray these with anything to start with. You just use the mold as is.
You can. Sometimes I put a little floor wax on the edge, on the flat surface, so that it's easier to clean. So this is a pretty bright color pink, but
she's been out in the sun a lot.
These press molds I developed for just a little quick project that you like to do, because doing a doll is a little more involved. And you just put the clay in the mold and press, and sometimes it comes out if you do it just right, or you can just take just some clay.
So you just press it that long and then take it out.
Yep. That's all it is, and you can crank out a lot of these little things.
And then you just lay them out and let them air dry,
and
as you mentioned.
they air dry.
So
and you can paint them with any kind of paint.
And now let's go back to the doll, because this was one of the first items you created using this technique with the hardy clay.
Of course, I'm a doll artist, so the first thing I thought was we could make dolls out of this clay. So I developed some molds, and this was the first one I developed.
And we're talking not about the big doll, we're talking about the little bitty doll she's holding.
Because it's very lightweight, so, you know. And it's put together with pipe cleaners, those craft pipe cleaners that they use. It's just the body parts are separate, and then
the legs and
it's
arms.
attached I attach the arms and legs to the little torso, and then we have instructions for this doll on our website, expressionsdolls.com. We have
And people
complete
can just download these,
step-by-step.
can't
You
they?
can download the instructions, and there's a pattern for her little dress. And
Oh, that's helpful. Let's take a
everything.
look at the basket that you just have all kinds of dolls. You
And
can
then-
make ethnic dolls. You can make them
Oh, yeah, 'cause
for
you can
different
mix any
cultures.
color.
Yeah, that's great.
green.
Ballerinas, you've got a kitty,
Right.
all kinds.
Yeah, then I developed the ballerina body, and I have different heads that fit that body. I have a rabbit too, but I didn't bring him, her.
And I like you've got sort of the Santa Claus face, you've got the old woman.
Yeah, that's
some of them need
Bryn's. Her
have had a
name is-
better hair day.
Yeah, some of them are
Those
the
are
red
cute.
hat ladies.
Oh, I see, yes, Okay, then let's take a look at these. You said basically you have molds for about 5 different facial
This
designs.
press mold, this simple one-piece press mold, is available with 5 different characters.
Oh, okay.
And I can tell you what character they are.
And this one?
That one I call artsy.
This one?
That one is peaceful.
Peaceful.
That one's cool.
That's cool.
He's cool. That one's happy. And that one's silly.
Silly, okay. So working with these, making dolls obviously, but you've also come up with ways to make little ornaments.
Oh yeah, there's lots of different things. I use these little plastic clear scraps to mount them and decorate them.
How easy. So it's basically the face,
Yeah.
and then you've added, like that one is the little Santa Claus hat.
Yeah, just simple.
What great projects for kids to work on too at the holiday time.
All ages.
All ages of us
kids.
kids. Okay. Well, Diana, thank you so much for showing us something that really seems almost simple enough that everybody can do it with a little practice.
Right.
Thank you. Maria, thank you so much for being here today. You sent me your cookbook earlier, and I had a chance to look through parts of it, and I'm really anxious to finish reading it. But you truly believe and wrote this book not only dealing with recipes, but about the body, mind, and spirit.
Absolutely.
And your ancestors have lived to be over 100.
Absolutely.
Have you put in some of those secrets?
Absolutely, and I've put little quotes and I've put little stories of what they ate, which I thought was really important because, you know, I felt that there was a lot of illnesses around the world, and what I noticed is there's a lot of diets out there, and
yeah.
I don't know if people know, but diet is actually an ancient Greek word from the father of medicine, Hippocrates, and it means a way of life. So when I was looking at the diets, they weren't advocating the way of life that my ancient ancestors lived and practiced. So I thought it was important to capture all that wisdom and give it to people and the tools that they need.
And here we think, most of us think of diets as limiting all the good things that we love and want to eat. So it's more of a negative connotation than what you're saying.
Hippocrates had a positive connotation. And we also have this notion of everything in moderation. So it's okay to have the donut. It's okay to have the takeout food. You know, we're not advocating don't have it. It's how much you have of
Moderation.
it that matters. Absolutely. And nothing in excess, as my ancient ancestors would say.
And one of the Greek wisdoms that you talk about is that we should adopt a Mediterranean diet. And I've heard of this before, but maybe explain that in case people are not familiar with it.
Absolutely. And a great example of that is the island of Ikaria, where most people live to beyond 100, ill-free, so no blood pressure tablets, nothing like that. And what that essentially means is it's very similar to the ancient Greek diet, but they've changed it slightly, the Mediterranean diet. And it is 90% of their diet is fruit and vegetables, so fresh fruit and vegetables. They have a lot of nuts and dried seeds. That's very important, so good fats. The only oil that they have is extra virgin olive oil, so none of these other oils that are toxic to our body. They have fish and chicken moderately, so it might be once a week, and meat is for a special occasion.
And you said how frequently?
Well, on my island, twice a year, so
Wow.
Easter and Christmas. Yeah, the reason being is the goats that we sacrifice are our pets, so we're very reluctant to sacrifice them, and that's why it has to be a very special occasion or a wedding or a christening. Essentially pulses, so there's a lot of lentils and chickpeas, and that's where they get their protein. And they also have, funnily enough, a lot of cheese and eggs. So instead of having meat, we have cheese and eggs.
That also gives you the protein.
Exactly, but the cheese that we make is not from cow's milk. It's actually from goat and sheep, which are healthier sort of cheeses, because also they don't require a lot of time for digestion. They're easier on the digestion as well, those kinds of milks. So essentially, you know, very important, always make sure that your fruit and vegetables outweigh your meats and your chicken and your fish, and that's the secret.
Well, and even the dietary pyramid tells us that we should have 7-8 servings of fresh fruits and vegetables every day, but I would venture to say that most of us don't get that in our daily diet. And a lot of people might be living in apartments and say, oh, well, I can't grow my own vegetables. But you lived in a smaller space, and on your balcony, you accomplished that.
Yeah, my neighbours used to look at me and think, oh my God, and I used to have tomatoes and cucumbers, herbs. I never had to buy any herbs. I grew all my herbs and chilies. Of course, you know, seasonality was a factor, so basil only grew in summer, not in winter, but then I would replant, you know, thyme or oregano in its place. And I never had to buy herbs. So what I'm saying to people, it's a great way to connect with land and the environment, and I think to connect back to yourself when you grow things as well.
And use flower pots. You don't have to have a field, so just
I
use those
had
flower pots.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
And you also say that we should adopt healthy and happy thoughts.
Absolutely.
Other than being nicer to be around. Why do you say that?
Well, because my ancient ancestors, Hippocrates, to treat patients, it was 50% to do with one's thoughts and mind and 50% with the diet. And the first thing he tried to cure was one's thoughts, because if you can't cure the thoughts, then you won't be guided to eat the right food. When people are eating the wrong foods, it's because it's emotionally driven. So, for example, if someone's stressed, they'll run for the chocolate, they'll run for the salt. You know, that sort of stress. So he always believed that if we got to behind the crux of the thought issue and resolved that, the food and the illness would resolve itself. And so one of the big things at the Oracle of Delphi that they had before you walked in, it was think good thoughts. And if you didn't have think good thoughts, you weren't permitted to enter.
That's interesting. Now, as much as I hate to admit it, you do talk about exercise.
Yeah, well, Hippocrates used to say if we gave everybody the right amount of nutrition and the right amount of exercise, we would have the recipe for good health. And that's his quote.
That's true.
And he advocated walking. So he had gymnasiums next to his hospital so people could go to the gymnasium. That was really important, in addition to other therapies that he practiced, like light therapy, music, dream therapy. Dreams were important for him to understand one's illness. But he also, you know, very important, walking. He said if we could just do half an hour to 1 hour walking each day, that is enough and that's sufficient. And that's what I'm advocating, at least walking.
Moderate exercise, just like the serving sizes, moderation is the key. And the last one is eat with peace and calm. You mean not rush home and gobble down something and head back out.
Exactly. And this was Aesop. He advocated that, my ancient ancestor, and he said eat with peace and calm, as did Hippocrates. And this is one of the reasons why in Europe we all have 2 hours for lunch and we go home to eat. Because what happens if your body is stressed or rushed, your body doesn't absorb the nutrients in the right way. And a lot of the nutrients leave your body. So it defeats the whole purpose of eating, really.
Hadn't thought about it like that.
Exactly, yeah. So when your body is calm, all your cells are working and everything's been absorbed beautifully. When you're in a rush and you're stressed, your body is not quite digesting the food properly, and this is why a lot of people get tummy aches or all sorts of other things. But also to us, eating is like a prayer. To us, eating is a prayer. So we eat with a prayer motion, and at the same time, we're blessing our bodies for good health.
Even though you've moved to New York City, which is the busiest city probably in the world, do you still practice these?
I still do, and it's amazing because everybody around me watches it and follows suit. And I explain to them why I'm doing it, and when they hear the explanation, they want to do it as well. See, if someone doesn't have the tools or doesn't have the awareness, it's very hard for them, you know, to know any differently than to rush.
Sure.
So I think that's why I was placed in New York, because that's the perfect place for me to be tested.
Well,
as
it certainly is, and
in
I
terms of
admire
all
you
the-
for it. Well, thank you so much, and people can find more of the Greek wisdom in the book that you have come out with, and besides, there's a lot of good recipes in here, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Carla, thank you so much for being with us today. I was looking over the website of the California Fig Advisory Board, and I was just amazed at all of the recipes that are on there. But even before I got to the recipes, I enjoyed reading about the history, the varieties, the harvesting. It's an interesting crop.
Absolutely, and figs have been around since biblical times. They really were the fruit in the Garden of Eden. And a lot of people debate whether or not it is the forbidden fruit. And so again, we're always having that debate. But when you think about California figs were introduced, or the Spanish introduced them to the California territory in the early 1600s.
Wow.
And then the priest at Mission San Diego actually planted the first fig tree, which is why our mission fig has the name Mission, and it's a purple dark fig. But the California fig industry, as we know it today, really started to take shape in 1885. That's when the orchards were planted in Fresno, California, which really is the Central Valley of California. What makes that so special is the fact that we have ideal heat during the summer, which fig trees love the warm sun. They dry naturally in the sun, but we combine that with some wonderful soil that really produces wonderful quality figs.
It's just all the right elements coming together.
Absolutely.
That's what grows. What's the season of figs, the growing season?
What's really nice, and we say think figs when you think California,
Yeah.
and the reason is you can get dried figs available year-round. So again, you can enjoy them year-round for dried. Fresh figs you can have mid-May through December. And the reason you can have it that long is the Central Valley is really the primary crop, but we also have figs now in Southern California in the desert, Coachella Desert, which allows an extended fresh fig season. So again, you can have them during the holidays, but you can also have 6 months of fresh figs and then year-round with dried figs.
Well, and I read that we can freeze them too, so literally we can have them year-round.
Absolutely, yes.
And each one has a slightly different flavor, doesn't it?
Yes, and that is really why am I excited about figs, because I love all the flavors. We always encourage people try them all, because you're going to get figs that taste like a Cabernet wine. So again, the Mission fig, which is a fresh and dried fig, really has those earthy notes, almost like a tawny port when they're dried. Then you've got a brown turkey fig, which is only a fresh fig. And brown turkeys are more like a Pinot Noir. So you've got your darker figs that are going to kind of get on the meatier, the savory side of recipes. Then you have your Cadota fig. And that's like almost like a green fig. It has a Sauvignon Blanc, a very mild fruitiness to it. And that's a fresh and dried fig. And then you have Calamerna figs, or golden figs, which is an easier thing for consumers to remember. It's the white golden fig. That's more buttery, nutty, honey, like a Chardonnay. And that's a fresh and dried fig as well. And then a newer variety is a Sierra, which the Sierras are more like a Riesling. So again, you've got all of these amazing flavors, and it just depends if you want a touch of honey, berry, sweetness, or do you want to go into that savory appetizer or steak-like dish.
Well, I can see that, and knowing how to purchase the correct ones. What do we look for?
Well, you want to look for the California brown. That would be first.
That would be obvious.
And then also with fresh figs, because fresh figs are very delicate and they can be very fragile. So when you're in your grocery store shopping, what you're going to look for is figs that are a little plump and they give a little when you touch them. So touch your fruit. Definitely touch your fruit. But you also want a smell. And so if you're going to take this fig, this is a perfect fig. Gives a little bit, but you want to smell because you want a fragrant, aromatic flavors. You don't want fermentation because that means the fig is going bad. You don't want to select those figs. And then when you get them home, what you're going to want to do is you want to refrigerate immediately. Fresh figs love to be refrigerated.
That's good.
And you can keep them in your refrigerator 3 to 5 days. The darker figs are going to last longer, up to 2 weeks. And as we talked a moment ago, if you don't use them, you can freeze them.
I think that's great. And you have an array of different foods here that show just how versatile and how we can interchange the varieties. So let's start with the poppers. I think those are so popular right now.
The poppers are a simple dish. And again, I'm going to demonstrate how to do them, how simple. But what you're going to do is just a simple skewer here. And I'm going to slice a mission fig. Now remember, they're all versatile. You can use these, you can use the calamurna, but what you want to do, and you're going to cut the bottoms off.
Just so that they'll stand up.
Exactly. So we're going to take this, and I'm using bacon. You can also use prosciutto, but bacon, that saltiness just works perfectly. And we want a little heat in this because, again, we've got a nice sweet fig that has the Cabernet flavors. We're going to put a little jalapeno to actually make them pop. So again, we're going to pop them. We have a beautiful fontina cheese. It melts perfectly. And then you're going to put the lid back on, just like that. Okay, and they kind of mash pretty good, so they're going to sit, usually
So you put those on a cookie sheet?
Yes.
How long do you heat them?
About 5 to 8 minutes.
Oh,
it really,
fast.
because it's very quick. This little guy doesn't want to stand perfectly for the cameras. But again, you can put those together, say within 15 minutes, you've got wonderful appetizers. And the kids can get involved in this. They may not want the jalapeno, but you can use anything. And these figs are just a nice carrier.
And poppers are so
and they're
popular.
very pretty. So then we have, you can use, again, fresh or dried figs with this one. We have a fresh fig stuffed with gorgonzola cheese, and it's wrapped in prosciutto.
How easy.
You can drizzle this with a nice balsamic glaze. A raspberry glaze also is going to bring out some nice notes with the fresh figs. But again, you can use fresh or dried figs.
So are we going to put this in the oven?
You would put it in the oven, again, another 5-7 minutes.
They're
Very
all
simple.
fast.
The cheese melts. You get a little bit of crispiness with your prosciutto, and it's ready to go.
Oh, okay. That looks
Another
good.
favorite of ours, and this is a little more savory though. You've got chocolate dipped figs, but you have caramel in there, which is going to give it a little bit more of a savory flavor. And that also could be with fresh or dried figs.
And that's got some sea salt on it, so it breaks it from being so sweet.
Exactly. It's
I
going to
like
give
that.
a little bit more of that savory, as I say, side. Then we've got something which is really fun. You can do it for appetizers, you can do it for kids, you can do it for an adult party, or just enjoy during the summertime. I love making fresh fig salsa. And when I make it at home, I'm always making enough that I can extend it through the week. So I'm going to pair it with grilled chicken, grilled pork chops, whatever kind of protein, so I can use it throughout.
Okay,
and
so
you can
make a big quantity.
Yes, and you can continue to add. You might want to add a little mango to this to give it a little flavor midway through the week. But what we have here is a turkey slider. Turkey can be very dry. So what we do with the turkey meat, we're actually adding chopped figs. We're adding dried
Makes it
figs
much more moist,
to the
doesn't
meat,
it?
going to add a little moisture to that, and then pairing it, of course, with the fig salsa.
Oh, I see. That's
So
another
again,
way
it
to
works
use the
perfectly
salsa.
with the salsa. And then we would finish, and as I like to say, my Italian heritage, we always have to have cheese, fresh and dried figs somewhere in the meal day part. So again, we've got here fresh figs sliced. We've got a nice brie with a very savory chutney, which is with mission and calamurna figs.
So those have been combined.
Combined. And then we've got fresh figs. We've got the mission fig. We have a Sierra, the calamurna. But then we also have a pepper jack cheese, which is going to have a little bit of the heat
Bite
to it.
to it,
It will pair perfectly with the fresh and dried figs as well.
And color combination, this is a beautiful dessert. It could be the dessert
Exactly.
at the end of a hearty meal.
Yes, and you can also add, again, Marcona almonds, pistachio, walnuts, almonds. Figs pair very well with other ingredients.
And just scatter
And you can
those
just
around.
scatter them around, because one thing about a cheese tray, you want to have fun with it. Select the cheeses you like, and then it doesn't have to be perfectly arranged, because you don't want to intimidate your guests. You want
Right.
them to dig in and enjoy it.
Looks great. Everything looks wonderful. Well, like I say, I had checked out several of the recipes, and you have thousands of recipes on there. Who knew there were so many ways to serve figs? Thank you very much, Carla.
Excellent. Thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed the show today. Next time on Creative Living, we'll learn how to texturize fabrics. We'll discuss the aromatic kitchen and talk about various paint colors for your home. One of my next guests is going to demonstrate some ways to texturize the surface of your fabric, older clothing, or even newer clothing to add something special. You may be surprised by the methods she'll demonstrate for doing this technique. Another guest is an aromatic alchemist and natural perfumer, and she's going to show how to prepare unusual recipes using essential oils to make life more sensual and to help one appreciate the vibrancy of food. And finally, we'll talk to an interior designer who will discuss and show basic colors of paint and explain the differences between warm and cool tones using paint chips and images of painted rooms. All of these topics will be featured on the next Creative Living show. If you ever have comments or suggestions or ideas for shows, you can email me at sheryl.borden@enmu.edu. I'd also like to ask you to become a fan of Creative Living on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com and in the search window, type in Creative Living with Sheryl Borden. Thanks so much, and I hope you'll plan to join me next time for Creative Living.
We are very pleased to offer you a new booklet that accompanies this series of Creative Living. This booklet is titled the 6900 series, and it features a wonderful collection of ideas and information, and it's available free of charge on our website. Posted as a PDF file, you can simply download the entire booklet or just the segments you're most interested in. For your copy of this new booklet, go to our website at KENW.org and then click on Creative Living. Scroll down to the booklet section and you can click on this booklet or on any of the other booklets that we have available online. We also would like to invite you to sign up for our free e-newsletter. Just go to KENW.org and click on the Sign Up Now button. Thank you.